Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that is important to me because I actually work in the field of the topic of today, which is childcare. And as we are all well aware, deciding to start a family is a big decision. And we generally ask ourselves, are we financially secure enough? Will we be able to afford a home? Can we provide for a child? How do we balance work and childcare? And the big question, can we afford to put a child into daycare or preschool? So in this video, I will be talking about childcare specifically in America and how disastrous it is on families and professionals alike. I will be focusing on how America's childcare crisis affects families, how it affects children, how early childhood education professionals or ECE professionals are affected, and the differences between states, what we could do or what could resolve the issues, and finally, I will discuss my own experience. And I'm also going to add in what the current administration has planned for childcare. Before we dive deep, it is important to define the crisis that childcare is in. In an article from The Hill's Gianna Melillo, the crisis can be broken down into three key interrelated challenges: affordability, accessibility, and quality of care. We can start with the affordability of childcare. The cost of childcare continues to grow and keeps getting more expensive year after year. According to Childcare Aware of America, or CCAOA, in 2021, the average national cost of childcare was $10,600. Now, I can tell you that the amount of tuition that a family pays varies on the age of the child or children. If a family pays for an infant, this cost is, as Gianna Melillo writes, more than in-state public college tuition in 34 states and DC. Before I continue, I wanted to quickly mention that the American Rescue Plan under President Biden was meant to combat the rising cost of childcare and make it more affordable, but we will touch on that later. Now, for a dual parent household, paying for childcare is tough. And we see more families with one parent deciding that the costs are too high and they stop working to take care of their child or children. And if it's this bad for dual parent households, you can imagine how bad it is for a single parent household. For single parent households, according to The Hill, the price of childcare is more than a quarter and up to 60% of the total household income. And that also includes households of color. So, what is it that makes childcare so expensive? Well, there are a few reasons as to why, which include a shortage in facilities, a shortage in space, staffing, and small dividends. These reasons put together have exacerbated the cost of childcare. COVID-19 hit childcare facilities hard. Facilities closed their doors, and parents were able to be home with their children. From The Hill, quoting Jack McBride, the pandemic eliminated basically 20% of all of the available childcare centers. One doesn't have to be well read in economics to know that demand for childcare is high, and with less facilities, the overall price of the care is going to go up. And with the pandemic, coupled with the closings, there was a loss of staffing. Low staffing means less rooms for children, and with there being high demand, it adds to the increasing prices. Another element to this is the high turnover rate in childcare, which means more money goes to training new staff instead of keeping seasoned workers. Let's dive into the accessibility of childcare. As I have worked in childcare myself for 4 years, I noticed many things and overheard many things. One such thing I overheard many a time was that the wait time for an open spot was long, ranging from a few months to a year. This is a problem that stretches far and wide, affecting millions of families. An article from Atlantic sums it up well, saying, in big cities and small towns, red states and blue, parents are hitting a wall of wait lists. I want to bring something up quickly about this. In the few different facilities I have worked in, I have seen many families tour centers. However, it is often not the first center that they have visited. They may go through several tours, not only because they want to find the best center for their children, but also because they have been told that there is a long wait for their child to start. And they will hear it over and over again. A consequence of this that I don't want to overlook is that it is a common thing for parents to put their child into a facility that is farther away from their job and their home. Let's now bring it back to the COVID pandemic. Everyone will admit, not a great time. It was mentioned before, but COVID-19 had a profound impact on childcare as a whole. During the pandemic, childcare facilities either reduced staff and children or closed. In the aftermath, many centers could not regain their larger operations and kept reduced staff or fully closed. I bring this point up now instead of earlier because not only does it tie into the waitlist, but also the operations. The necessity to downsize after the pandemic hit childcare hard. We know that about 20% of facilities had to close their doors. And what about the staff? Well, after COVID, about 80,000 childcare providers were lost due to closings or letting go of staff. Also note that childcare has a high turnover rate and it takes time and money to train new staff. Next, let's discuss the quality of care. Quality care for children leads to much better outcomes for children. And those who attend daycare or preschool have better opportunities in life later on. The first few years of a child's life are crucial. As American Progress puts it, the experiences and interactions children have in their early years significantly affects their brain development and helps to establish the foundation of future learning. So now the question is, what are the components of high quality childcare? The answer is that it varies by state. So let's start with the baseline. The baseline for child care centers in every state is that the center is safe for children, which is your typical cleanliness, covered outlets, no sharp corners, proper supervision, etc. But upon mitigating these risks, the regulations do not address the comprehensive needs of young children. With this baseline that each state abides by, varying requirements for licensing state by state often leads to exemptions on faith-based programs or number of non-related children served. This means that in faith-based or small family daycares, even though they have safety measures, the facility is not required to expose children to age-appropriate activities and rather do the bare minimum. I'm not saying this happens in all facilities like these, but rather there is no licensing requiring them to do so and possibly stagnating a child's development. The interactions inside the classroom is an important component to a high-quality care center. Teachers should be engaging with children and tailoring the proper learning experience to the correct age. To facilitate these standards and achieve high-quality early learning depends on two key factors. And the first factor is interpersonal interaction. As stated earlier, the first 3 years of a child's life are crucial for healthy brain development and sets a foundation for future learning. The relationships that children have in their early years consist mostly of their primary caretakers, both their parents and care providers. Skilled teachers are able to engage with children, responding to different needs of the children, as well as using responsive language, promoting independence, engaging in activities, and providing a language-rich classroom. Teachers are also able to redirect challenging behaviors by using effective means such as using empathy, responding with warmth and respect, and giving the child strategies based on their age to better their emotional regulation. These interactions with teachers lead to much better success in life for the children, but also foster better relationships with learning and with their future educators in grades K through 12. The second key factor for high-quality childcare is the physical environment, which includes both indoor and outdoor spaces. Children learn a lot through interacting with the world around them. The classroom should have developmentally appropriate materials for the age group to promote independence and exploration. As an example from American Progress, infants need to interact with their environment in a very physical way, examining cause and effect relationships by touching and feeling objects. It is therefore important to provide them with different materials that they can hold and explore. There are many childcare facilities that do not provide enough materials for infants and children, and there are some that do not have the funding to do so. Regardless of why the facility doesn't have enough materials for children, staggers their development nonetheless. I think it goes without saying that the cost of childcare has an impact on the family. So the cost of childcare, as mentioned before, can get expensive. The average cost to have an infant is more costly than in-state tuition at a university in 34 states and DC. Title 20 is meant to help parents pay for childcare, but it often does not alleviate the financial burden that it puts on parents. This financial strain leads families to face instability. As a Rasmussen article put it, they face difficulty covering essential expenses such as housing, food, and healthcare, which negatively affects financial well being. Given the cost of childcare, parents are often made with a difficult choice: undergo the financial burden or put your career on hold. Many families see one parent pause their career to make this choice, and it's a tough choice to make. You put in effort to getting a degree, to have a good job, so that you can afford a family, only to see that whisked away because childcare keeps getting more expensive. On the other side is that pausing one's career also means that there is less income for the household. With funding dried up for money allocated for childcare facilities, childcare became more of a scarcity. Those who are living in a city saw facilities close, but even then there's an advantage over less populated areas. Whether in the city or in a rural area, the need for childcare remains the same. The lack of facilities often means picking a facility that is subpar or picking a facility that is far too expensive. And in some cases, you have both of those things. So as children spend more time in childcare, or have a lack of childcare, it impacts them. Finding a good childcare facility is difficult, and upon finding the wrong facility, a child's development may suffer. If the facility is not equipped to stimulate learning in a child's developmental years, it can lead to ramifications to their learning. In these years, children learn to use language, learn early math and reading concepts, as well as art concepts, and also to socialize with their peers. When they miss out on these things, as McBride puts it, they are behind and will probably stay behind for their whole academic careers. Just as important and vital are the relationships that children build with their caregivers. These relationships will help aid their future success. What happens when there aren't enough teachers for children, or if the teachers are not satisfied with their work? In both cases, it is possible that the children have their basic needs met, but are emotionally neglected. When these relationships are not built early on, this increases the chance of children lashing out in a variety of ways, often in an attention-seeking manner. This also makes it harder for them to build strong relationships with their peers and mentors, leading to less success in their lives. Quickly, I want to go over the impact that childcare and the lack thereof has on parents. There is some crossover with the impact on families. However, I think it is important to relitigate the impact on parents. Parents face limited choices in childcare, meaning they have to choose between subpar care, paying high tuition, or leaving the workforce, which would lead to financial instability. Parents often have to pass on pursuing career growth, giving up on promotions and higher paying jobs that require more hours. Childcare hurts parents' ability to save for retirement. Parents who wish to pursue higher education find it difficult in doing so and may have to forego those intentions. And lastly, what I actually find to be the most important is the stress and mental health effects that it has on parents. So early childhood education professionals, or the ECE professionals, or childcare teachers, are in a unique situation. In this profession, there is a crucial need for teachers all across the country. Part of this is due to a mass leaving after COVID and the high turnover in this field. Facilities can see staff leaving as soon as a week in some cases. This profession is high demanding, stressful, potentially dangerous, and requires long hours. Teachers are meant to play many roles in this line of work, from being a teacher to being a custodian to being a cook to providing discipline to sometimes having to play the role of a parent. This is all paired with watching a dozen or more children at one time. This often leads to burnout, which is something that ECEs face regularly. So it makes sense that turnover is high. There is also the issue of wages. Wages in this field are low for the amount of work that teachers do and how far important this job is. The average pay for teachers is $15 an hour, with many teachers earning less. This is not enough for teachers to live on or take care of a family with. The benefits that teachers receive are often minimal, and some teachers don't receive them at all. Teachers have a lot of stress, and yet so many are dedicated to their job. They love the children they work with, and they love the children that they work with. And yet, they are in the background, even though they are at the forefront of making sure that future generations are able to be productive members of society. Another aspect to bring up is that many facilities are ratio based, so a lot of teachers face having their hours cut. With all these issues that ECEs face, the biggest challenge is that they have no voice. Wages stay low, hours are cut, conditions aren't safe, benefits are minimal, and if you work for a large for profit, corporate will tell teachers how to run their classroom. ECEs are forced to play with the cards that they are dealt, and are often frustrated by this. ECEs provide such a crucial service and yet have no representation. The vast majority of ECEs are not unionized, and there are a few out there, but there is no big movement for this. Now, states in the country have many differences when it comes to childcare. For example, Michigan has a lower child to teacher ratio than Ohio, but on average, families in both states pay the same percentage of their income, whereas a state like Nevada has an even higher ratio compared to Michigan and Ohio, and families spend more on average for childcare. This uneven standard of childcare makes it harder on families and providers, and shows the need and necessity for a nationwide standard on childcare. What can help resolve the issues? There are two main things that I think can help alleviate the issues with childcare. The first of which is unionization. If ECEs are able to have a voice, then these issues behind childcare will find more light. ECEs can advocate for better working conditions and expanding access for families who need childcare. They can also use their voting power to elect officials who will act in the best interest of the workers who provide the service and the parents who utilize the service. The second thing that can help resolve these issues is the government stepping in to alleviate the high cost of childcare by creating a universal program that all families can utilize. By taking the profit motive out of childcare, we can improve the service greatly. Now, some will hear this suggestion and be skeptical or antagonistic, possibly voicing opinions and questions like, how would we pay for it? Why should I pay for someone else's child? Or, the government taking over would mean the centers would be forced to close en masse. Well, my initial response would be, suck it up. But my nuanced response is this. Our government always finds more money to give to the police departments to militarize them. They find money to the tune of $1 billion to give to the military, and they find money to subsidize large corporations that take advantage of our tax dollars. And we never ask, how do we pay for that? Instead, we shrug it off and have to accept it. I also understand that our society puts emphasis on the individual, but we are a society and interconnected nonetheless. Investing as a collective to help shape future generations helps everyone in the long run. Parents have more disposable income, they have less stress and more opportunity. Children have a good pathway to opportunity in their lives. They have more confidence and are able to maintain more relationships. These children could one day greatly benefit society if they have the chance to flourish. And lastly, centers currently continue to close under the normal process of things. Funding these centers would help keep many of them open by improving the access. Now, you would also be correct in saying that the government tried this. The American Rescue Plan allotted $39 billion to states in 2022. This money helped keep centers afloat and reduce copays or wage fees entirely. This also helped middle-class families gain eligibility for assistance. It was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't enough. With this money, centers were able to stay open, nonprofits were able to purchase cleaning supplies, masks, COVID-19 tests, and pay utilities. However, the ECEs providing the service were not able to get the compensation that they deserved. Now, I will not hide the fact that I am a leftist and I detest the Trump administration, but I don't care if people voted for him. The issues that childcare faces are not unconnected with politics. With that said, it is important to remember that policies that are enacted affect us all. Childcare is in the crosshairs of this current administration, and whether you are a Republican voter, a Democrat voter, or an independent, any side of the spectrum you lie on, the question about childcare will come up. Childcare facilities felt the ramifications of this administration early on. In January, Trump signed an executive order that froze financial aid. The order was rescinded days later, but according to an LA Times article, senders couldn't access their funds for weeks, unable to meet payroll, and some were forced to shutter for a few days. Also, as stated in the article, a leaked draft from the administration's budget proposal for the Department of Health and Human Services would defund Head Start, phasing it out by 2026. This would take away a safety net for families who would otherwise not be able to afford childcare. If Head Start is disbanded, it will exacerbate an already underlying crisis of unaffordable childcare. An estimated 800,000 low-income children will be without childcare. This will put them at a disadvantage in life. Losing out on childcare doesn't just affect individual families, but it also affects the economy. If parents can't afford childcare, one will stay home, affecting employment numbers and leaving families with less income to help stimulate the economy. I know that some may say that there should be parents that stay home, and that is all good and well. But with the way that our society is currently set up, both parents need to work in order to afford to pay bills and buy food, both which already lead to great stress. When I started working in childcare, I was lucky. I found a place that had a director and assistant director that ran the facility well. I was also working in Michigan, which has a lower child to teacher ratio than Ohio. I worked in a class with two other teachers, and it made the experience much better. Fast forward, again, I am now working in Ohio, which has a higher child to teacher ratio. Instead of working with 2 teachers, I was now working with 1 teacher and more than a dozen kids. It became overwhelming. The children seemed to have more problematic behaviors, and there was management that wasn't attentive to what was happening in the classrooms. I actually had a little girl that I resented, paired with 13 other children. I felt like it was having a terrible toll on me. This was also happening at a time that the company was trying to cut hours, and as such, a teacher would be sent home and children would have to be moved around. This often stalled my plans for the day. This particular facility gave no say to teachers. We were left on our own, and we were often in need of help, as there was always confusion. And meanwhile, the administrators are playing computer games and painting their nails. And this is not a stereotype or an exaggeration. This was witnessed. The toll it was taking on me and others was clear to me. And the mistreatment of my co-teachers stirred up feelings in me. I knew that nothing would change without the teachers making their voices heard, but everyone was too fragmented and not everyone was well versed in unionization. Now I am seeing these same things, and it has been radicalizing for me. I want things to be better for families, the children, and my coworkers, which is why I am trying to build a coalition. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you. If you are a childcare provider and this video resonated with you, I ask of you to stand up with me to make our voices heard. I am currently trying to get the word out to those in this line of work. I want all of us to know that we have a voice and we can make it heard. There is strength in numbers, but we are unconnected to what companies we work for and where we work. I am currently trying to connect those in Ohio as a start and hoping to build a coalition countrywide. Together, we can create a better work environment and advocate for higher wages. I have started a Facebook group that I will post in the description. If you are interested, give the group a follow and share your thoughts, or you can refer others to it. For everyone who watched this video, please share it with other ECEs and anyone who has an interest. Again, thank you all for watching this video. It means a lot.